No, it is definitely not that bad.
So Dave somewhat embarrassed me, and I went back into my files, and I'm like,
I can't believe you guys keep these files for like.
but I couldn't find, and I know I wrote a law letter for you.
Yeah.
But I could not find it. I had a good time looking at a bunch of other rec letters that I've written over the years. I mean, it wasn't a wasted, effort, but I was sorry to say that I could not find it. Austin was, so I could not go back to the documents, and that's terrible. So we're going to have to use oral history.
That might be worse, actually.
Well, it has its tricky parts, oral history, right? So Austin was from Adams County, right?
Yep.
PA, and from pretty early on, my memory is you were always thinking law.
99.99%.
Yeah. So, so sometimes that's how it is, right? Somebody kind of has a strong sense of their path. And did the history POE, as a student athlete as well, for I think all 4 years.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember it anyway. But his thesis, we do, of course, keep these.
Oh, no.
And one of the things Austin got interested in, I think maybe starting in junior year, was the question of how, in the second half of the 20th century, the integration of sports in America. And each sport at the collegiate and at the professional level kind of has its own story of racial integration. And he got interested in that question and ultimately did his thesis on that. And my memory is you also did a paper before that. Did you do?
I did one for the South.
New South Flag.
Yeah. Something about like NASCAR and
NASCAR. Did you do basketball?
Basketball might have been part of it too.
Yeah, I think it was about the famous game where Dean Smith blocked the doors or whatever. Yeah. So it's a good example of consistency on that. Went straight to law school at Pitt when he graduated from Juniata, and now practices the law. So Austin. Oh, I should say he worked very hard many years in Gettysburg, helping support the historical tourism trade there.
Wore a funny outfit. Yeah, the whole shebang. Oh yeah, knickers and a little vest. Yeah, it was
all right.
There's definitely pictures out there somewhere. If you look hard enough, come up. Where to start? I guess, I mean, I did want to go to law school when I came here to Juniata from day one. I took a history class and a politics class my first semester, and I said, whichever one I like the most, that's the one I'm going to do. And I took the first half of European history. And then I forget what the politics course was, but obviously it didn't stick. So that kind of tells you.
They'll vest it on.
Exactly. By like week 3, I was pretty sure that the history route was what I was going to go with. So I did that for all 4 years here. And then, wrote my thesis on that topic. Graduated, and I took a year off. Went back home and lived with my parents and made money so that I could live and go to law school and all those kinds of things. So I did that, I applied to a lot of different law schools, and I was pretty sure I was going to go to Marquette up until like the middle of May in Wisconsin. And then Pitt said, you're in. So I switched to Pitt. I've always wanted to live in Pittsburgh. So did that. And so went there in 2015 and went to law school for 3 years. I think I did a law school a little different than some people, where I worked a lot through law school, usually at least one job, if not 2. Just because I didn't want to take out like exorbitant loans, because they add up very quickly. Take a note there.
Were these law related or legal related jobs or not?
Once I got far enough in that I could actually do something around an office, I usually had like one legal job and then one like bartending, waiting tables, something just like at night that I could do, because that was my free time. I did law school in 3 years at Pitt, and I graduated and I got a certificate in tax law from there as well. I did like an emphasis my second year there, because your first year, they tell you what your courses are. First and second semester, you get assigned, you're with all the same students. That's pretty consistent across most law schools, because it's kind of more fair for grading. So yeah, I did that. And then my first semester, second year, I had to take federal income tax. It's one of kind of the core classes. I took that. And was like, wow, I really wish maybe I'd taken some accounting courses because I like this. And I never would have guessed that. So there's something I regret, not taking any sort of math. I took like the base minimum math classes just to get out of here, because you need however many credits of that. So I wish I'd done that. But so I did that, and I love tax. So I did, like, we had a tax clinic where we helped like low income individuals with tax issues. So I got some real life experience. Took international tax, corporate tax, like all the different tax classes I could, graduated, studied for the bar exam and took that. And there were really no tax jobs available when I graduated. There were like 2 openings. One of my best friends got one of them. So I was at least happy that somebody that I liked got one of them. And we were getting married at that time. So I took the first job that I got that sent me an offer. So I went and worked in oil and gas my first year out of law school at a mid-sized firm, like 80 attorneys, 90 attorneys in their Pittsburgh office. I did 95% of my work for one client, just a big gas company out in Pittsburgh, doing due diligence and sometimes helping with like land purchase deals. I mean, it was not particularly exciting work, but I needed to make money and, all that kind of stuff. So I did that for a year, but I was always looking for tax stuff. And I think the most important thing about the law community, especially like in a city like Pittsburgh that isn't that big, is my good friend that got that tax job earlier. One opened up at that firm. She said, hey, like, we have an opening. Do you want to come and interview? She had said nice things. So it was kind of just, I showed up and made sure that I was like a normal person and like, knew how to like act in public. And so I moved to, it's public accounting. Like, it's not even technically a law firm. I do tax consulting and prep. Most of my work, I've been there. I started like a month before COVID. So I was in the office for a month and then went remote, which was interesting. But now most of my work that I do is either international work, or I do some consulting with nonprofit organizations. So 2 like totally opposite ends of the spectrum, but that's a lot of what I do. And I'm debating getting my CPA, not sure. So that's kind of, it's only been 7 years. Yeah. So that's pretty much all that's happened.
It's just interesting that land acquisition and due diligence just wasn't very exciting, but tax,
it's so funny because tax, it caught my eye initially because it kind of trickles into everything.
Yeah.
Like we have like a lot of different groups at my job, and like my first year and a half here, I've helped with the estates group a little bit and, doing stuff like that. I've helped with gift tax, with partnerships, but the international stuff allows me to do a lot of reading and research and not so much credits and all that kind of stuff that is typical accounting work. So I think that's why I like it more than.
It seems like it's constantly changing, right? Tax laws and standards or whatever change all the time. So you got to scramble to keep up. Yeah,
especially in the last 3 years or 4 years or whatever. It's been a lot of changes. So I mean, I like it. I like the thought process of, this is, figure out the answer and then give us, X, Y, Z. It's like writing a history paper. That's basically how you write stuff and, when you're working with the law. So that was always appealing to me and kind of tied together why I did history and then moved on to that. So
I'm gonna ask one quick question, which is just, so when doing international, so is it the case that like this client may say, yeah, we're doing business in Corsica. We don't know what the tax liability situation is going to be. You got to go find out about Corsica.
I do a lot of that. And I do a lot of like, we're a US based company and we have offices in Hong Kong, UK, and Germany. We have to make sure that any transactions that we do between our US office and our foreign offices, like they're not giving us a discount and like shifting profit overseas. So I do a lot of like tying those kinds of things together, which is really interesting. Actually. So
it's real. Awesome.
It's something that I knew nothing about 8 months ago. So, I mean, it's like just pick up stuff. Someone asks you to do something, you don't say no. Right. So,
that's
learn stuff out.
Live by Austin.
Yes.
Sort of like in a history class.
Exactly.
Bell says do something and you don't say no.
Exactly.
All right. All right, great. Well, we'll open things up for questions after we hear from Aaron. All right.
Now she gets to be there.
All right.